It's Stranger Nerds here, and here we are, and I am finally caught up now. We had the season finale of season 4, baby. Piggyback.
It's
And
it's fitting that you guys watched the season finale on Stranger Things Day. If you
is it
guys didn't know,
really?
today's Stranger Things Day.
Who keeps track of these things? As I don't.
I know yesterday was V for Vendetta. Remember the 5th of
Oh yeah,
November.
remember? Yeah, that one I do
So
know. But there's no.
I'd
Why
be
is
more than
this?
happy to forget it. But
Is there
uh,
why?
The reason this is Stranger Things Day is because in the Stranger Things universe, today is the day that
11.
Will Byers went missing.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that also the
Unfortunately, he
same?
did not stay missing, so we had to witness Noah Schnapp's acting. But
Is that also the same day that it's in the Notebook too? Remember correctly, in the previous episode when Nancy was first in the house.
Correct.
I thought you were talking about like Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams. I'm like, good movie, has nothing to do with this though. Unless you know something about season 5 that I don't.
I do not. So, of course, these episodes are in both written and directed by the Duffer Brothers, as all the lead ups and season finales are, and season openings.
This was the Albatross.
Yeah, it was just a long one. Like once I paused like 2 hours and 20 minutes. Like, oh shit, I'm glad I'm starting now.
We started at the same time, basically. You were like,
pretty
I'm
much.
30 minutes in, and I'm like, oh, I'm 31 minutes in.
Yeah, it's pretty damn close. All right, so opening scenes. As we left off, we have the wonderful crew escape the prison, and then Yuri is trying to fix lovely Katinka. And if we saw,
Not Katrina.
Yeah, I will say Katrina, which is generally like a Slavic name, but Katinka. So you see he's working on it. He kind of looks like he takes like a spark plug out from it, and the engine now won't ignite, and because the fact that he sabotaged it and he's quote unquote trying to fix the wonderful helicopter that will get them out of there. So he's stalling.
Call him on it right away. They know.
Oh yeah, they know. Yeah, they're not dumb. But the thing is, like, we'll get to this later. But we have this wonderful scene between. I'm a little sarcastic with this one. Joyce and Hopper, the little lovebird scene with them taking their clothes off, and she sees their scars.
They finally took Murray's advice.
Yes, they finally did.
It's 4 seasons in the making.
Once I saw the scene started, like immediately I was like, the phone's gonna answer during when they have their clothes off, aren't they? Like, yep. It's of course. Then we get into the phone call, and they didn't really hear the conversation, but we hear the aftermath. And I'm kind of surprised that Hopper didn't like. He didn't reveal too much, but they had I'm assuming the KGB knows their names already, so like.
It's hard to tell because as far as the KGB is concerned, I don't think they're aware that Murray and Joyce were in Russia.
It's more so the fact that there's a phone call that's asking for someone, and like the KGB usually has like, people of interest, and like Hopper on the line in the first place. He's always like, I'm trying to convince this lady that I'm alive.
Yeah.
There's some flags there. And then who knows what the radio out from the prison was like.
I think Hopper was just trying to play on the air of caution because he's lucky enough to be out of there, and he doesn't want Joyce in any more danger than she's already in.
Yeah.
So it was kind of keep it close to the vest, but give enough away to let her know, like, hey, I know Owens, like, get me through.
Yeah. So Papa person on the end of the line was a friend of Owens, as we know, was do you have her name on here? Because I know she mentioned her name like once.
The agent?
I don't remember
the
her
agent.
name
We've
at
seen
all.
her around.
I don't think she has a name, to be honest.
That's what I was going to say. They just call her the agent.
No, the agent told her that her 11 and George's children prepare for a fight. The forces of evil in Hawkins, and they're now currently off grid. And Murray, which makes reasonable sense. Like, success is KGB on the other end, but the Joyce does confirm, like, hey, the particles were alive means that there's a gate somewhere, as we know. And the fact that, like, Joyce generally has a good read on her kids too. At this point, in my opinion, so like, she knows she can generally tell like what is shenanigans or not when it comes down to them. So Murray makes the comments like, yeah, even when we fix Katinka, they can't get home in time, and uh, Joyce has the great idea of attacking the piece that's here, and at least we can try to help them across the state into the states know what we can do on this side. Which I'm curious how much, because we don't really see the true impact of what they do. We'll get into we'll talk about this later, but like I to me like it didn't seem like much happened.
It wasn't. It was a very minor impact, but they definitely do show it in that the montage that we will get to later.
Okay,
Um, I think it
so
was kind of just a quick stab in the side. That was just good timing that helped the rest of the crew out.
yeah, so we have Hopper tells Dimitri to do whatever it takes to get Yuri to fix Katinka, and while he, Joyce, and Murray go back to the prison, which they all think they're crazy. They're crazy to go back there, and grab a wonderful flamethrower. And every zombie slash apocalyptic game gotta have a flamethrower.
And it does come in handy.
Of course. Well, yes.
I definitely like this scene because it's finally Hopper coming back into his own skin. Like he's just been kind of a ghost this entire season,
Mm-hmm.
and he finally has his girl and his crazy best friend, and he's like, "All right, I'm back. Let's fuck shit up."
Yep. So they enter the prison. They immediately notice that, hey, the guards aren't there. What's up? And we get the wonderful hear the gunfires in the distance plus the radio chatter like, oh, shit's going down. Um, I like this scene with Dimitri and Yuri.
Oh yeah,
So, um, so with Yuri, I think that because right now Yuri has no real motivation to help them other than a gun to his head, which obviously doesn't mean much. And I give props to Dimitri here. I'm like, hey, like actually kind of inflate because he knows Yuri is big on his ego and
yep.
kind of inflates it. Like, and he does mention it's like him having like because having some battle that he took part in with China. Um, and then that was like Russia and China, at least back in the Cold War era, was never really friends. Like especially um, that kind of the eastern side of Russia always had conflicts with that region,
Yep.
especially China and Japan. Um, but it kind of tells like, oh, like the stories of the great peanut butter smuggler, and kind of it's like, hey, like you're like this is a real world situation going on right here that we need your help, and these people are sticking their necks out for it, and we need you to do the same. And yeah, he kind of mulls it over, and as we see later, of course, he comes to the rescue with Dmitri. So at the
By the way, I'd just like to say I think Dimitri was an incredibly, maybe unsung hero is the right term, underrated character this season. I really liked him, and I thought that the actor that played Dimitri added a lot.
Yes, and I feel like that they gave Dmitri a good amount of layers to him, and to give him that complexity that was really nice to see overall. Like no, and it was a very nice foil to Hopper as well. Of especially like when they got caught, like he was the one who was like, "Mom, where's your energy?" And Hopper's like, "I'm I'm literally at the bottom of the barrel right now, and I can't go up from here." And it was definitely a really nice character to have besides Hopper in this whole um,
I think it's
arc.
nice. I think it's nice because it paints them as family men. You know,
That too.
especially us like here in the U.S. Like a lot of times we're very quick to just instantly paint the picture of they're the bad guys. They're just pure evil. You know, whereas Yuri was always talking about providing for his family, and that's why he didn't give a shit about the Americans. Dimitri wants his family safe, and that's kind of what pushes him to tell you, like, hey, like, our families could be at risk if we don't do something, no
Yeah.
matter how much we don't like the Americans. So Dimitri definitely was probably the most underrated character of this season.
I'm curious if they're going to be coming back next season. I assume they will.
I can't see why they wouldn't, or at least
So
Dimitri. Maybe not Yuri, but definitely Dimitri.
I think Yuri has to be a factor too because they still need reputation over to Russia because
Well,
who
I
knows?
think they both would be back. I'm just saying if they had to choose one, I would definitely say.
Oh yeah, Dimitri would be the one to be more of a fixture. Yeah, agreed there. Um, so yeah, so we get to the prison. Um, I also noticed like why keep the car lights on from the hole? I thought it was stupid.
Yeah,
I saw that. I saw that. I'm like, okay. I guess it's for the cinematography of it. So they go back in the hole. They get out. They realize, oh, all the vats that had all the wonderful Demogorgon are broken, and so is the Mind Flare is out and about. The particles. Um, so they go to the security cameras. They realize fucking everyone is dead, and Demogorgons are having their wonderful buffet. And they realize, oh, the Demogorgons have gotten steroids.
yeah.
I'll say steroids, but like, what's they are being possessed by our wonderful friend.
The Mind Flayer basically took them over and amped them up a little bit.
Yeah, got me that juice. So yeah, so they find out that the guards actually shattered the containers, so letting all the rest of out, and then of course the particles that went through them. And then the plan is, of course, Hopper's bait is to get the Demogorgons because they're a hive mind, get them all into the courtyard. Murray's gonna flamethrower them on top while Joyce puts the electrical barrier on. Everything's going wonderful, and let's mention too where the PTSD of Joyce when it comes to our wonderful friend Sam like Angie.
Bob.
Yes, and he's like, "I'm not gonna die on you." It's like, "I'll die someday, but not today."
Yeah. The most
being all Macho Man.
cliche superhero line.
Yeah, of course.
Not today.
So he's going to the hall. Joyce watches tensely on there, and then we get the demo dog in there. He gets their attention, starts bolting. This on his tail. It gets on top of him, and then Joyce is like, "Fuck this shit. I'm helping." Tases the fucker to save Hopper as he's almost being about to get mauled. And then they all run in the courtyard, and then wonderful Murray just goes full on torch mode and burns out every single one of them except one.
And this part of the scenes for the Russia group was where they were kind of overlapping with the battle with Vecna. And I definitely like that montage. It was great. The music was great. And just having, at that moment, like, 11 thought that Hopper was going to die because he basically was about to get freaking eaten.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, Joyce, tasered the shit out of it. But
yep.
At that moment, stakes were high. And I remember watching it for the first time. I was like, they're not going to fucking kill him. No way.
Yeah. No, I thought the same exact thing. And then we get this last kind of scene where it's one demo dog versus him. And kind of pops it with some ammo first. He's like, all right, fuck it. I'm just going to go one-on-one with you. And finds a really nice sword on the floor.
A very D&D-esque looking sword, if I might say.
Yeah, that was one I was like, that's like a...
like convenient.
It had a fancy blade, the fancy handle. It literally looked like a dragon slaying sword from like a video game.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, like that's a weird spot to put. Like, I thought if they gave it like an actual regular sword that, like, that we like, if now I'm curious if one of those swords actually was given to one of the inmates before the fight, because it could have been. We don't know. We can look at that maybe later.
I think the sword was probably already there, and it was probably one of the gladiator weapons.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I wonder if one of the inmates was grabbed that sword in particular before. I'm curious if they did a full tie around on that. But yeah, we had this wonderful, very much Street Fighter isn't the right word, like more like Soul Calibur kind of fight style with the one-on-one and like the kind of slow mo, chops the arm off, and then funk, there goes the head.
It was the very Zack Snyder-esque fight scene.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. And then there comes Katinka, and they get the hell out of there. So, pretty simple, pretty straightforward, nice action, good stress and stuff. Good stuff.
Did you see this plot line going the way it went? Like throughout the season, like did you ever imagine this was how it was going to end up?
Am I surprised? No. I thought they were going to leave it as a character dangle for next season.
Okay.
Because again, we didn't know what it was going to be for. We knew there was going to be a season 5. Let's be real.
Yeah.
But we didn't know the aftermath as we know now of what is the state of Hawkins.
Yeah.
Because I thought that we need to go back to Russia, and no, I know they're not going to send kids into there, but like there's still a plot line where they can go. But like they kind of would say kind of filled in that loophole. They're like, oh, Russians don't have any other things with them anymore, and no, they take care of all the Russian influence at this moment. So I can definitely see it like, okay, we don't have to worry about that storyline at all for the rest of this next season. It just focus on the gang fights one.
Yeah.
So
speaking of the gang,
the Hawkins crew, Dustin, Nancy, Steve, Robin, and Eddie go over their plan. So, which is phase 1. Which is initiated when Nancy, Steve, and Robin get Erica's signal at the playground outside the old Creel house, and let's signal Max and Lucas when the trio is ready. And the other part of that plan is knowing where Vecna is in the house.
Yes.
Phase 2 is Matt. I won't say Bates is a good word, is a fine word here, but
that's essentially what they used in the show. She was supposed to bait him and get him to come to her. That way they knew where he was going to be.
Yeah, I know I would say more antagonize. Because to me, because this case, the bait is caught. No, I mean, usually when
I think it goes hand in hand. She baits him by antagonizing him.
Yeah, that's fine.
If I have to be the tiebreaker here, I would go with bait. But
okay, fair enough. But yeah, so baits him into distracting him. Phase 3, Dustin and Eddie draw away the bats away from the house. And then phase 4 ends with Nancy, Steve, and Robin heading to Vecna's lair and killing him. And then
plan.
Yep. And then all right, back at Eddie's trailer, the group travels through the gate. 2 groups split up. As we know, Max and the Sinclair siblings are already at the house, and Steve tells Dustin and Eddie if anything goes wrong, they would have to abort. Dead flags.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah. And then Eddie and Steve also acknowledge this is Nancy, Steve, and Robin walking through the house. Yeah. They acknowledge it, and the let's see. Yeah, we'll get that a little bit later. All right, and then on the flip side with the pizza gang. So
the most I've liked spending time with them.
Yes.
The entire time so far, and I will say I've been a big Argyle hater, but the last few episodes
he comes around.
The last few episodes I've kind of come around on him a little.
And just the dialogue he has in this episode it was perfect. I
It was
loved
great.
it.
It was
There
honestly
was
like
not a line of dialogue wasted from him.
It was fantastic, but also he was useful. I
Yeah.
like it when they actually use him and he's useful and smart, but also still being Argyle. You know what I mean?
yeah. I think they built up to him quite like yeah he was. I think everybody agree like oh yeah he seems like an asshole like I wouldn't say an asshole is not the right word but like
Not an asshole, but just a bumbling doofus, maybe.
yes like it's just kind of
He's a useless stoner that just kind of is like goofing around the whole time. But I think he was so excited to actually be wanted, to like be needed in this episode. It's like he got really into everything he was doing, which was great. And just the lines he pulled when they got, the whole idea of piggybacking, and the way he talked to Eleven, he was like sizing her up. He's like, "Oh, I got the perfect place for you, my superhero friend." So I was like, "Oh, he's coming in."
I would say the other thing too is that the fact that he doesn't judge what's happening is like he's just accepting with the fate that he's in. And the other thing too is like he's relatively a quick thinker.
Yeah.
Like 3 times he's come up so far of either an innocuous comment or there's like, hey, these tracks on the road are military grade. We got them. Like, let's go. No, I know not in that kind of like instance. It's more of a like, hey guys, I got an idea. Like I don't smoke or whatever, but like it's like I know, whatever.
Oh, that was not great.
No shit, Sherlock. I'm not like bright tomato red right now.
Aha! Yeah. What?
So,
Is he a door-to-door vacuum salesman?
A job I think Argyle could do.
Yeah, he probably could. So, yeah, Elle noticed that like a billboard featuring a woman giving her daughter a piggyback, and a great idea of wanting to figure out how to take because they can't get to Hawkins, and Jonathan's trying to beg for the earliest flight to get her over there. And yeah, so Elle proposed the idea that in order to protect Max, is to actually get into Max's brain from here, and then, hence the name Piggyback, into Vecna's brain, or at least try to fight her on Max's turf, and because of her, she needs the sensory deprivation tank, and the guy's like, oh, we found a motel, like we can maybe set something up there, but the issue is they need a shit ton of salt, and it's also like late as night, so they're having issues.
A great line from Argyle there, going, "Gotta be clean into the mind, man."
Yeah, oh, that's what you need the tub for, and yeah, so like, yeah, we need the salt, and then Argyle out of the blue is like, hey, would 600 pounds work? And they're looking like, what the fuck is he talking about? And
where are you storing 600 pounds of salt?
And exactly 600 pounds. How do you know that number? And he's like, yeah, that's the pizza place. Like, oh, they have bags of salt, and we can definitely make it work. And he's like, again, sizing her up. It's like, yeah, we can make this work. Roll up to the Surfer Boy Pizza store. Sees a fellow stoner talking like, oh yeah, how's it going? Like, no questions really. Like, oh, like, why is someone else who doesn't work at my store now in the middle of goddamn nowhere?
And you can make a drinking game out of this scene of just every time they say "my dude," you got to take a shot.
It'd be a good amount in a short amount of time. So they it's like, hey, we need salt, we need the room here. We'll hook you up, and they gave him the offers up Purple Palm Tree Delight joint from Argyle's t-shirt or his shirt pocket, and Pizza Boy's like, yeah, sure, that works. Oh, and we have they kind of take over the store, and they kind of set up and make the tank and get ready to go. And we see a nice little scene where Mike makes a pair of the glasses to block the light out for her at the pizza box. And then I'm glad you didn't put it on here, Tommy.
I was going to, but I didn't want to bring up a big debate over a pineapple on pizza.
No.
It is good.
Yes.
No,
Can't deny it till you try, my man.
I have, and I
What?
can. Sucks to high heaven.
No, it does not. Ideally with bacon.
Now I haven't
Yes.
had that,
I would
but
say pepperoni is the more ideal.
I'm not the biggest bacon on pizza person. But I've been told I need to try a chicken bacon ranch pizza.
Very good.
Yep.
And I haven't done that, but I
Have
will do that.
you had
But
buffalo chicken pizza?
no,
Another one.
I'm
You
not denying. Again, I'm not saying that that's bad. Pineapple I've tried, and it's piece of shit.
pepperoni and
But
pineapple is what you got to go with. That's the go-to.
Nah,
rather stick dynamite in my mouth.
pepperoni's too greasy for that. Um,
Yeah, that,
I like
thank
the
you.
bacon because it's not like so the usual way is with ham. That's what I grew up on. I like the
Yeah, ham and pineapple is kind of what I hear most
the
people
usual
do.
Hawaiian. I like the bacon better because the saltiness goes well with the sweetness, and you kind of get both at the same time. And then you kind of the pizza itself is your savory. That's your transportation of of those toppings. It's
All
good.
right.
It's good. I would say give it a shot. I haven't had it. I haven't had it in a while, but I do like it.
We'll just have to do what Argyle did to Mike and just hold him down and force feed him.
Shoved down his throat. It was very good. I like the whole thing.
Yeah,
Like
we'll have to
Argyle was
have
like kind
a
of.
pizza tasting edition of the show.
Yeah.
But I do like Argyle again. I was like, hey, you got to try it. And Mike's like, what the? Like this is blasphemy. And Elle's like, just takes a quick bite. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good. And I thought that was a very sweet scene. I liked it a lot. So back over the
Back over to Hawkins.
Back over the Hawkins.
Or the upside down, I should say.
Yeah. So we start the whole group. So phase one, we start. So we get Eddie and Dustin. Well, the gang flips over into the other side. Eddie and Dustin start barricading their trailers, can't know. And then Eddie's attacked to find an upside down version of his guitar. So hold on, I just realized something later. That I should realize just now. So there is the guitar is in the upside down with him. And they set up their setup. And then we get the other three, Nancy, Robin, and Steve, heading over to the Krill house. They are the ones. They are searching on each floor, in silence with their shoes off to make sure that like they're not being heard. And they use notepads to communicate, make sure that Vecna doesn't know that they're there. As we learn that you can hear what's happening on our side, but in the upside down, upside down can hear what's happening on our side, but not vice versa.
Yeah.
So Erica finds them on the first floor with Lucas and Max. So finishing phase one, Erica runs to the playground. And then while she's running to their position, a man with his dog sees the light from the courthouse, and if you remember, he was one of the first people who left the hall when Jason Carver was making his big rant of like, oh, this Hellfire cult is the reason why these incidents are happening. So he lets Andy know. So he calls him, as we know later on, like, hey, no, they're here. You should check this out.
Jason is fucking unhinged. He looks like he's been on a fucking bender. Like he looks rough.
He looks like, especially I bet his adrenaline's going through the roof right now, and he looks like he's like cracked out.
Yeah.
And honestly, like,
and that's not the personality or the mental state you should be firing a gun at. So things are not looking good for Jason.
I gotta say though, like, I know his earlier episodes weren't great, but I thought he did a very good job in this episode.
I never turned around on fake ass Glenn Powell. It just never happened for me.
I thought he played Psycho quite well.
I think that the character, I think No, I just never got on board with it the way that you
Okay,
did. I'm sorry.
I thought
I think that the need for that antagonistic character to just provide a little bit more pressure was certainly a good decision to
yes.
give a little bit more tension and stress to this to this part of the show to this particular set of the gang, but no, just never quite got on board with this guy.
I can understand that, but I thought it was very well. I thought that at least this episode, the actor did a very good job of doing that for me. I
This
thought that,
episode was the best that he was, but I still don't give it too much
fair
credit.
enough. Fair
Or
enough.
give him. He's a human being, you know.
Yes. So upside down, Nancy, Steve, and Robert are going to the house. Robin thinks that she's seen this tree before. She runs up ahead, of course, being the ditz that she is. Love her to death.
And then we have the character arc of the century with Steve.
Steve goes full cycle, and he is really talking about how Nancy was the thing that woke him up 2 years ago, and reminisced about stupidity and the whole. I thought the very interesting part that he uh uh the analogy of him walking backwards, crawling backwards first before he started crawling forwards, and the reason why he fixed that is he fell in the stairs backwards. That's a very funny story.
It was just a sweet scene, and finally, like, having him talk maturely to Nancy, like, that was kind of the kick to Nancy of like, oh wait, do I still want to be with him and not Jonathan anymore? Like, that was kind of the big realization for her of like, oh shit, like, he actually has matured.
And like the fact that he not outrightly, but does confess to like, hey, you're the one who's in my dream when it comes to that Winnebago and my 6 kids.
He's had so many moments where he's just watched her and Jonathan together, and he just wants to be with her.
Yeah,
but he knows in his mind he thinks he's not good for her, so he never pursued it.
And the other thing too is like he also has respect for Nancy, and I would say some part Jonathan from what they've all gone through already. So like
he talks to her like a person that has her own needs and desires and stuff, and that's nice.
We'll talk later too.
Confident person.
We'll talk later too, but they also were going through their own rough passions, and they still can't be honest with each other in the first place. So
Team Stancy.
I feel like the season 5, of course, it will get resolved, but like I think there's gonna be some growth in Jonathan in the next season.
Yeah,
when it comes to that. We'll talk more about this later, but like I think there's.
I'm not gonna lie. During this scene with Steve, I thought this was gonna be foreshadowing for him to die.
Ooh, I was like, you already foreshadowed that once. You can't do that a second time.
Well, that's why I was like,
they already leaned very heavily into
the first time. Like when Eddie gives his little, oh, we're not heroes, like line. I was like, all right, you're gonna die. And then Steve gave this dialogue. I was like, oh shit, are they gonna kill both of them off? Like, no, they can't do that. But yeah, that would have been devastating if they killed both of them off. Like, Steve is, as much as Will gives that bullshit line to Mike if he's the heart, no, Steve is the goddamn heart.
Yeah.
Mike is the heart. Okay.
We'll get to that scene in a little bit, but yeah.
So then, of course, Robin comes and interrupts as they're having this moment. It's like, hey, I found a way to go, and I love her to death. I think she's out of the gang right now. I think she's my favorite character.
She's the golden retriever right now. She's just all over the place.
Yes, and I identify with her very much so. So they get interrupted, and then back to the right side up in the house. Max and Lucas wait until the next phase begins. They, in their notepads, they're told Max and tells Lucas that she's glad to be here with her, and he says, of course. And then Lucas kind of asks like, hey, do you want to go to the movies on Friday? And she accepts by drawing him a picture of her and Lucas in the movies together. And I thought it was very sweet. That also should have been a flag of like something's going to happen. Like
exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's why I thought Steve was going to die in this episode. Because I was like, damn, they're setting everybody up to die.
Yeah, and honestly, for good reason too, because like if everybody's might die, then no one's might die, so you don't know who he's going to be.
Exactly.
So Erica then flashes her lights on, let him know like, hey, we're ready to go for phase 2. And so Max puts on her sneakers, approaches the fucking lantern that's waiting for her, and she calls her Vecna. Didn't receive any responses. And the lantern fades, so they both go upstairs, knowing that's where he's gonna be going to, and following up to knowing where Vecna's location is. So, Mike's finished the sunglasses. Will sadly sees from afar, and like that kind of longing, I guess you can say, it's a good way to put it. And I see this on the show doc that you put in here, Tommy, and I agree. And I thought this was a really good scene. I like this for Jonathan actually kind of stepping up, like being the big brother finally again. And like
this was the return of Jonathan.
And acknowledging
I liked it in concept, but it just seemed a little overwritten on Jonathan's part and a little too overacted on Will's part.
I know you were going to say that with Will. I agree with Will. I think Jonathan is fine.
I might just be a douchebag, and hey, that's fine. But that's what I kind of thought. It was
well done for Jonathan because, being that emotionally vulnerable, like talking to a sibling, like at 18, 19 years old, like having heart-to-hearts with a younger sibling. I never had that. Like, it's just kind of an awkward thing to just randomly bring up. Like, hey, like, I miss talking to you. I miss you coming to me for things. Like, it's not a natural thing to just pull out of the blue for conversation.
Actually, I think Jonathan, I've been there before, and okay, retraction. I that's fine. Works for me.
And as someone who's been on the Will side of this thing with my own sister, who I love her to pieces, and I couldn't ask for a better sister. Like, she was the person where I wouldn't open up to her, and when I went through my own issues, and the fact is like, yeah, just please talk to me, because like, no, she's so. This story in general is something that me and my sister have gone. I as he's telling this, I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me, because I can talk into the podcast. Because there is a story of my grandma was babysitting us, and my sister, being the curiosity kid that we were like young. I think maybe like I was 6, she was 8, and I was 6, she was 8, and she knows like little like like bracelets you make, like those little containers, and like you make the different colors and stuff, and you do it up. So my sister wanted to see what would happen because I was like laying on my side. I guess my head was in her lap, and she wanted to see what happened if you let a bead let go and roll it down the ear. And because like the ear has that natural grooves to it, and the bead kind of stuck at where the eardrum is, or going the ear canal is, and try to get it out with a Q-tip, and then push it deeper in my ear.
Nice.
So went to the doctors that day, and then my grandma let him know like, hey, we go to the doctor. So my mom had to come back home early, go to the pediatrician. I get the ear flushed out. We go get McDonald's. On our way back home, we park the door, or park at the car, and then we usually have the things like, first one to the front door, touch the front door wins as we race. Car doors opens, we're running. Get to the front door. Our front door has a glass screen, like a glass front door.
Did you smash the glass?
My sister did. Going, I win. Boom. Back to pediatrician. That's it. So we went there twice. Like, you guys again? I'm like, yeah.
That's great.
That's a great story. But but in context with the Lego story, I had very much to reminisce of like those kind of things, like asking for advice, or like I know it's a little different to this, but like the sibling things you have to deal with, and like I had very much that same reaction to this, and I was like, oh, this is I thought it was very sweet, and the fact that Jonathan was actually willing to be vulnerable with Will, it's like, hey, I know I've been hiding my own issues. I've been avoiding them, and Will's like also stoned. I'm like, yes, also stoned, but that's
Yeah.
good sweet. It's real. They're hand in hand, and they I thought it was a good moment for them. And as they're stirring the salt into a wonderful pizza dough bath.
No, as Jonathan was stirring, fucking Will was just sitting there holding it, not doing shit.
That is very true. That is very true.
Not only is he a bad actor, but he's a bad stirrer.
Useless.
So let him know, hey, salt bath's ready. Elle gets ready. She puts herself into the dough freezer, and she quickly finds Max.
Let the mind fight begin.
So, yeah, yeah.
Dude,
Argyle is really supportive.
He was so
I
excited for this. I was so happy.
When the lights start flickering too, he's like, "Oh, what's going down?"
He's like a kid in the freaking candy shop.
I'm excited to see how Argyle like reacts to this shit in season 5. Actually, like being in the thick of things now.
Yeah.
So Elle's watching Max tell Vecna she knows she can hear him, and sits down without her Walkman, and tells Vecna like, oh, like, yeah, she wants Billy to die, and I can definitely understand where she's coming from for this, and like she would pray that something that would happen to Billy, and it's just made her life miserable, and like he admits to like, hey, like the day that he died, she hesitated to run to him because she didn't know whether he truly deserved to be saved, and that's all the shit she's done to him, plus all the mind flare shit that he's done, and she just can't forgive herself, and now makes a comment too that now she dreams that she would also disappear too, and expected to do so, and once she started this conversation, I knew that he's going to twist it on her. I was like, Luke is going to say some shit to her, and it's going to rile her up. And lo and behold, Max is like, if that's the truth, asks if she ever thought those thoughts about him, and then realizing, oh, this is Vecna talking, and first confused, but yeah, once she's in the corner, and Vecna's like, yeah, we're I'm glad that she's going to final sacrifice to end up that will break this world. And of course, Lucas in reality is trying to wake her up. I'm like, hey, no, you okay in there? No, knowing that the facade is not needed. And then
I really like this. I've said it so many times, but I really love this season. I love this scene because it reminds me of Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm sure, yes, Mitchell, you can affirm to that, having just watched it for the first time. The whole way they slowly bring the hallucinations out, because you think you're in reality, then all of a sudden it's like, nope, you're not.
Everything having to do with Vecna in this particular episode reminded me very strongly of A Nightmare on Elm Street, and I know that Robert Englund is actually in an episode or two of this season as well.
Yep.
So that it's a nice. I'm not gonna say it's ripping it off, because I think it's a little bit more of an homage.
Yeah, it's definitely
using some of that stuff. I had no problem with it and actually enjoyed it.
Yeah, I didn't see the movie, so I can't make a comment about that.
You should. Very good.
All right.
As someone that just saw it for the first time, definitely recommend.
Still holds up. Very nice to hear. So, Elle lets him know, hey, Vecna has Max, and Max hits Lucas, or Vecna, let's be real, and who is Vecna, as he knows, and she runs downstairs, holding Max's hand in this, I guess, this space that she's currently in, trying to concentrate on Max's memories, like trying to pry into her head. And she's transported to a California skate park into the 1970s. and Lucas lets Erica know, hey, phase 3, we start. So, phase 3, Robin informs Dustin that and he sets the speakers up on top of the Munson trailer, and we get this awesome scene. And behind the curtain, Tommy gave you a question at the end of after the end of the episode last week of what is an awesome song. What do you think the song is going to be? I had some good guesses. I went. I don't know how the episode's going to go, but I was like, okay, maybe like Jukebox Hero by Foreigner. That was my first. That was my like kind of
saying that.
good guess.
Yeah.
I was also thinking Styx at one point. I was texting Tommy afterwards. I personally love Styx, and there's a lot of good selections there too. Especially if you haven't ever heard it, but like if you want a good like walk up theme music, in the middle of the song called Castle Walls, fantastic. Oh, it gets me every time. If I was ever a closing picture, that would be my song.
There are so many fan cast songs that could have been played in this episode, but I just remember when he picked up the guitar in the beginning of the episode, I was like, oh, Eddie's gonna rock out. Something's gonna happen. And it was such a cool scene. Just Master of Puppets was the perfect song for the episode. But
Yes.
there's so many songs that could fit that scene.
Many different layers for this one. Yes. Especially also being a Metallica song, and like, no, that is very much the genre of Eddie, going hard into the metal.
My other personal favorite that would have been Thunderstruck by AC/DC.
I think it would have been too obvious.
Wouldn't fit here to me.
I know, it would just been a cool guitar solo to fucking throw in there.
The tempo is the one that fit nicely because it is kind of a hectic thing, and like, the bats are coming, and like the stakes are ramped up.
Or Immigrant Song, Led Zeppelin.
Do you see that recent like clip of someone playing the Immigrant Song? The drummer is like playing that weird sound. I guess.
I just saw that like right before we got on here.
Yeah, that was so funny. I love it so much.
That's another one that I just think has been a little overused. Like I know they used it in one of the Thor movies, and it was just nice to see something different.
Jukebox Hero definitely would have been a good one too.
That's you could never go wrong with that.
Either way, we get an epic scene. Eddie just ripping the chords. Dustin's giving the countdown.
The support man, and then they go run inside the trailer once the bats arrive, and they are on the road fighting the bats off.
Hold on, you miss how they fucking geek out over how awesome the guitar.
Oh, of course, and Eddie's doing
they're about to die, but they're still geeking out. Like, oh, that was the best song ever.
So, now I have to look now. Here, Tommy, quickly vamp for a quick 10 seconds about how great that was, because it was great.
It was super fucking great. Best song ever. Mitchell, what song would you have put in there?
Baby Shark.
But could you play Baby Shark perfectly on a guitar like that and make it sound epic?
What is he doing? He's just going through all these papers, throwing over, fans and stuff.
Meanwhile, he's also got a guitar behind him. Connor, are you gonna do a fucking solo?
Yeah, no. Are we getting the show?
All right. So the reason why, sorry, could cut you off at all.
No, I had nothing to say.
So the reason why, my girlfriend decided to since I was doing this with you all, is she wanted to get me a mug, a Stranger Things mug, and I had no clue what the whole purpose. Like,
oh, that's a good one.
Wait, when did she get that for you?
Like probably a good I would say like 2-3 months ago.
Oh, so she spoiled it.
You've had that image sitting around. You had no idea when that was going to come into play.
I first thought it was Billy.
What?
That's great.
And because Billy also had the metal posters. Billy also had the metal pictures as well. But I didn't make the connection because the actual cup handle is the guitar.
That's awesome.
And I saw the guitar. I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me! Like, and I had to sit in my cover for the last 3 months, not knowing that this scene was coming up. I was like, oh, it's the mug.
Are you trying to spoil this for me?
So
Well,
funny.
tell her I say that's an awesome mug.
Yes, I would definitely mention that. I'm glad. Hey, and funny thing, it didn't spoil anything for me. So, um, yeah. So awesome scene. Um, uh, we get Max who's trying to escape from. Oh, well, backtrack here. Um, Nancy, Steve, and Robin go to the bats. We get Andy and whoever the other guy's name is. I can't
Jason,
think. Jason. I don't want to say
the
Jordan.
one we don't like, just
Yeah, I
Glenn
know.
Powell.
So Jason and Andy arrive and start causing some shit. Sees Erica. Andy goes catches up to Erica and tackles her. Um, and then Jason goes to the house. Max, meanwhile, in the hallucination, sees Billy in the sauna room trying to escape, and uh, as we saw previously in season 3, yeah, where he breaks through the door again, and Max kind of calms herself down and thinks that that's the happy memories that she has, and of course it's the is it the snowball? Is that what
Yep,
they called it?
snowball dance.
And which is the one dance you have with Lucas, and like no, they had a great movement together. Um, and she's transported there. She thinks she's safe, and the Demon
Balloons.
Bats approach, and Dustin Eddie's count down, and then sprint to the trailer when it's time, and showing how geeking out how awesome that performance was, which it was, how metal it was, and then Steve, Nancy, and Robin are playing "Don't Step in the Cracker," Break Your Mother's Back.
Yeah, that I give him credit because I definitely would have stepped on something.
Yeah,
I'm not that well coordinated when it comes to balancing and hopping around like that.
your Tourette's ass is going to screw things up.
Oh yeah, I would have fucking twitched or something and just fell.
So, phase 4. So this is when the tensions are flaring. So Ella goes through her skate park. Goes to the skate park that she's in the dream of Max. Eventually finds Max as a younger child. But let's says that she can't interact with him. And Will asks if anything's off memory. Elle finds an at his place DJ station on the top of the bridge, which looks similar, at least to me, to the one that's in the snowball.
Yeah, that was the purpose of it, basically, kind of the connection
The
between
trigger, yeah. And then Max is currently in the snowball, kind of sitting around waiting for the next phase and just kind of buying her time. And then the balloons start blowing up blood. Ooh, that was such a fun little effect that he did. That was so cool. And I was like, oh, he's starting to pierce away at this memory too. So, and then the song changes as well, and we get the Ella Fitzgerald's "Dream a Little Dream of Me" start playing, which I thought the song choice that Vecna used in the
it's like
background
eerily
of this.
creepy, but like
Yes,
happy at the same time.
but like Vecna's like, oh, you should be thinking of me right now. I'm coming, and yeah, the banner starts decaying with the flowers, and things are starting to break down, and like you can, she's starting to barricade, and as we know, that doesn't really do any help.
Yeah.
Lucas knows Max starting to hyperventilate, and back in the actual house, and trying to signal Erica. Erica, of course, is not there, and who's being held down by Andy and threatens to break her arms. Then Jason comes up the stairs and starts approaching them and believes that this is the same ritualistic sacrifice that killed Chrissy, and starts interrogating Lucas. And Lucas tries to stop him. Then the gun whips out. He's like, "Nope, you don't move. I'm in control here." And he forces Lucas to empty his pockets and demands Max wake him up. And Lucas is like, "Hey, we're trying to do something to save the world, pretty much. Listen to me here. I can explain as best as I can." And Jason's having none of it. And he said he would kill him if he doesn't comply. So Nancy, Steve, and Robin are going up the stairs, trying to not step on any divines back in the Upside Down, and then we get this random earthquake that happens that alerts Vecna to their presence because one of them stepped on the vines, and I'm assuming it was probably Robin. But
I think so.
someone probably stepped on something that wasn't supposed to, and I don't blame them. The whole house shook, and the all the vines pinned all of them up against the wall. And as those two, but before Nancy and Steve try to help them, but still, they're all trapped. And in the trailer, Dustin and Eddie they think they're safe. Bats are crashing against the windows, and then they realize they're on the roof. Like, oh, that's not good. And then there's a little vent area that's like, oh shit, they can get in there. And then they're stabbing away. As the bats trying to pop their heads through and they're trying to protect it. Eddie had a really good idea of taking the garbage can lid and just stabbing it through the roof to hold the lid. And it's like, is there any other vents? And they realize, oh, there's one in the bedroom. Let's go there. And the bats are already in. And so they close the bedroom door. The bats are going crazy at the wood, breaking through. And Eddie lets Dustin go up to the hole first. And then as Eddie's about to go up through, he kind of has this realization of like, oh, I'm currently running right now, and decides I am going to slice the rope and going to be the hero, and decides to told Dustin like, hey, I'm going to take care of this, and he runs out the door, pulls away the mattress to protect Dustin, and to say hey, don't follow me. He wants to keep Dustin alive, and runs outside, hops in a bike, and darts, trying to keep the bats on him still, giving them more time.
And poor Dustin is just traumatized at this point.
Yeah, he's like,
I felt so bad
like one of his best friends is now, fighting for his life, and I get into it. Dustin is like, fuck it, I'm going back in there, and he literally grabs on, jumps through, and then hurts his leg.
Yeah, I felt bad that the least athletic kid there was the one that had to find a way to jump through the fucking ceiling,
pull himself up, and then get gravity switched.
Like, of all the people in that group, the one who had most struggle was Dustin.
Yeah,
I was just impressed that he was able to do it.
His heart was the right place.
He took an injury, but he got the job done.
Yeah. Yep. Back in the crumbling mental world of Max, she tries to barricade things. Obviously, doesn't work because Vecna can just control what's going on. All of them disappear, and the wonderful crew house door shows up. And Vecna begins to taunt him.
It's a nice door.
It's a very nice door. I thought it was like a very nice, cool tattoo to have. Because that design is very evocative.
I can guarantee you there are so many people that have that as a tattoo.
Yeah. Especially the episode's been out for how long now?
Yeah.
About 2.5 years now. Oh my God, I'm getting old.
I'm not.
You're the same age as us.
I know. I'm making a joke that it's the first time I'm ever seeing this.
Oh, well, you're still 30.
Yeah, I'm still 30. So Vecna begins to taunt him as she tries to find more happy memories. And then she kind of messes with her head. It's like, hey, I'm in control here. Here's all your friends trying to stop me in Hawkins and in Russia, and like failing to fight back. And this is where you get to see Hopper currently eating by the Demon Dog.
And then you have Eddie fighting off the bats.
Yeah. And then Vecna pops behind her, Max, and pins her against the wall. Lucas, trying to get her out of the situation, tries to tell Jason, like, hey, who Vecna is. Jason's not asked to help Flower Club how to summon him. And Lucas tries like, hey, it's not a cult. You're taking this the completely wrong way. and he's not
He's not
believing
trying to hear any of that.
Yeah, he's in his own thing. They'll talk about Chrissy while she's at the trailer to get the buying drugs, and he's just in denial right now of like who
There's not
Chrissy
a
was.
single thing Lucas could have said that would have taken him off where he was going.
Yeah,
I think this is gonna be something that goes on season 5 where Lucas kind of has what Max went through this season with Billy, where he's just gonna replay the scene in his head over and over, like what could I have done to stop Jason and gotten to her sooner.
yeah, because him they argue more and saying like, hey, you're wrong about Eddie, and Jason corrects was like, oh, you're wrong about Lucas, and they get this point where Lucas like, I should never joined, thinking that Normal was unpopular was good, while obvious to him Normal is being a psychopath, and I don't want anything to do with that.
Great line.
And Jason tells Lucas the tensions was through the roof. Pretty much what it goes down to is as he counts, Lucas gets the first leg, charged right at him, shot was fired, and
which is absolutely insane to think that Jason was literally ready to kill Lucas.
I'm not surprised at all.
I'm not surprised, but it is insane.
Again, he was so gone off the edge already of this whole thing. Like so hell bent on revenge and just letting his emotions take the wheel on this whole thing. Yeah. And like not like, again, let's be real, this is not a rational event that's happening.
No.
And that does play a part of it too, of like, seeing is believing. He's currently seeing Lucas currently with Max, whose individual was proposed. So like,
yeah,
to him, he's just trying to talk himself out. Lucas is trying to talk himself out of the situation. So they start fighting. The fire goes off. The gun goes off. Annie gets distracted by a quick second, and then Erica takes the advantage of it, kicks him right in the balls, smacks in the face of the flashlight, and bolts right her ass back to the Krill house. And yeah, we get this nice, good little fight scene tussle between Justin and Lucas, and the Walkman gets stepped on.
That's the oh fuck moment.
Yep. And then we get the and this is the point in the episode. I was like, how far are we? I was like, we're only an hour in. Holy shit!
Yeah,
there was a lot more coming on. Yeah. So Vecna approaches Max, saying like, I like the scene too. Is like, oh, you're brave, but I'm like everybody else, including Billy, like they'll break because you're human and I'm not. Like saying that he's above them. That very much that superiority complex he had. And then we get Vecna about to kill Max, and he gets thrown to the center of the building, and there's
11, baby, saving the day.
So yeah, and that was a nice little like, hey, we're back at it scene. Like, remember me? The quick little hi. Those are great.
I liked how Max was like had to like check like, are you actually real?
Yeah, like the face thing. Yeah. Is like
she's so deep down into the reality of Vecna controlling her. She just doesn't know what to believe anymore.
I'm just trying to put this in here because I thought it was
fucked up if Vecna created 11 just to be like, got your hopes up.
Honestly, my favorite line came from this scene, and like Max like, how'd you get here? And Al goes, I piggybacked from a pizza dough freezer.
Yes.
And Max is like, the fuck?
But she doesn't really question it either. She's just like, okay, cool, you're here. I'm happy you're here.
Yeah. And they have this nice little scene in where Vecna is kind of that's after Vecna gets thrown into the freaking bleachers. Yeah, because he's just like, yeah, screw you. Funk. Eddie's still running for his life. Dustin goes, like I mentioned before, goes to the portal, inadvertently injuring his leg. And finally, a bat finally gets to Eddie as he's being swarmed by them. And he gets knocked off the bike, starts running, and Eddie halts when he thinks how he ran when Chrissy got murdered, and overall his over personality comes to these things, as he mentioned before. And he decides, fuck it, I'm standing my ground, and I am going to uh, position myself up and hopefully survive through this. And then Dustin sees this scene of him like, oh, Eddie's getting his ass beat, like he's getting hurt hard by these guys.
Yeah. Granted, Eddie did hold his own for a good moment there,
Yeah.
but it was inevitable. There was way too many of them.
Yeah, that was that was the point. I'm like, this is like either Dustin comes up with a great plan, which like I thought he maybe use something with the audio speakers, maybe draw the attention away from Eddie, or something like maybe electrocute them. I don't know, but
that would have been a smart thing for Dustin to do.
But like at the same time, it's like it's either going one or two ways.
Yeah.
So, and then Erica runs into the attic, which the door was closed to the attic, and she couldn't get in. And then while the Lucas and Jason still fight, Max is reuniting with Elle, and we get the interruption of Vecna saying, "Oh, hi there. This is going to be a tussle because Elle threatens to kill Vecna again if he touches Max." And Vecna questions whether Elle truly killed him, and tells her that he's really glad that Elle showed up, and he wants to make this. He said something that was more like a beautiful reunion or a beautiful situation for himself.
Yeah, it was kind of an odd conversation that Vecna had, and part of it was almost like the Emperor Darth Vader kind of scene where it was like he's like at one point like I wanted it to be you by my side.
Bring Star Wars into everything.
Hey, I'm sorry, I'm a fucking nerd. Leave me alone. But it was like
Too early on this. He does mention it later on. Because this is a scene where he alludes to, oh, this is going to be beautiful, of like overall like you're here now. I can do everything at once. I don't need to come find you. You're already here. That's how I interpreted it as.
I think that was like the unexpected variable
for him. Yes, oh, Elle kind of popped out of nowhere right now.
It's like for him right now, he's just busy trying to get that fourth portal open, and I'm sure his plan was probably once the portal was open to go to reality and find 11.
The other thing too is that like, yeah, it might have been an unexpected hitch to him, but like he's so conceited with himself too, but he doesn't really care.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I'll just take care of you like I take care of the rest. Like, yeah, you are different than the others. He does admit that later on, but like in his mind, like, yeah, I'll just squish you at the rest of them, and I'll make you watch.
Yeah.
So the boys back at Surfer Boy Pizza realize they're fighting them, and the Vecna does capture her, and like after this tussle, and like he kind of takes advantage, like kind of shows off his might.
Yeah,
because he's been like, while Elle just got her powers back, she Vecna has been doing this shit for a while, and again when he captures her and like puts her against the door and binds her by these damn tentacles, I'm looking through this now. Yeah, this is the spot I was looking to go through notes real quick. Pins her to the door, brings Max, puts her on the last spire, and Elle tries to take away his trying to appeal to his emotions, like, hey, Brenner's dead. Like from her own understanding, like she realized to her that Brenner was a monster, and no, Brenner's the one who made him into who he is. Because Elle Elle never really. She got some of the backstory from Brenner, but I don't know did he get? She got the full thing too, didn't she?
Of like how
Yeah, because he told her directly, like, oh, um, like him and the spiders and stuff. Yeah,
I'm
he
trying.
told
Well,
her.
that dialogue was to Nancy.
No, but she lived through the memory. Her memory herself, she recalled it.
That's right. Okay, yeah, because it's going on at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Um.
yeah. So she knows everything.
Yeah. So she knows that, but she's like, oh, but she does pin it more on Brenner because her own self pins her issues on Brenner, which is true, and Brenner is a monster into her eyes, and it definitely is. But Vector kind of flips it over. I'm like, Brenner's not a monster because he's just an ordinary man like everybody else in this world. Because he's not me. I am the superior being here. Definitely again his ego. Um, but to what became who he was actually Elle herself pushing her into the as he put the purgatory.
It was kind of funny, like how Eleven's battling the whole concept of her being a monster, not this whole season. And Vecna is basically just in one line. He's like, "No, you're not the monster. You're just one that created the monster. So you're just as responsible. You're just as bad."
Yeah, exactly. Um, so we get the whole backstory of him in the Upside Down, where he thought was purgatory and hell turned out to be the world untouched by humanity, which he was very happy about because this is to him like he sees.
It's a playground.
Well, I almost say playground, but like as I mentioned before, when we got his original backstory in episode 7, we know he's a psychopath. He knows that he thinks that he's better than everybody else, and he does have this notion that humanity does not belong on Earth because it what's the word he put it it's Earth at the moment is a construct of humanities and the rules, these imaginary rules that they made. This is a place it's clean, it's untouched by humans, and thus is his own heaven in a way.
Yeah,
And he still holds the grudges to Elle because he wants to take revenge, and but he decided to, as he mentioned, he called himself an explorer of this world, and then he came into contact with our black particles, as we know as the mind flare,
yeah,
and he, I assume as I took it, became one with it, um,
yeah. That's how I
or
saw it
cooperated,
too.
one of the two.
I
Um,
think he was able to telekinetically control it. I think that's what we were kind of cued in to believe without them saying it.
but yeah,
Which
and they are. I'll rephrase this. They are one. I would say they are became interchangeable beings because of the fact that we get later on that Will mentions like I still feel him.
yeah.
It could just be a mind flare. It could just be him, but we will find out in the future.
So
Um,
I think so. I think Vecna is the one that created the hive mind. I think everything links back to him
hmm, that'd be interesting because that kind of
because
Vecna is the one who kind of made the connections with everything else.
yeah, because like he kind of alludes to it in like his little villain monologue that he has, where it's like, I, I sent the Demogorgon in, like that was me, the Mind Flayer was me, and like all these, and eventually later on when the big battles happen, it's like he was affected by those dying. So I think in Q, like in the past seasons when the Demodogs and stuff got killed, and you saw that hive mind activate, I think it was affecting him too.
Yeah.
So my
Um,
thought he was the original
and
being for
the
hive
other
mind.
thing too is like because I also think that he was also trying to. Oop, cat just knocked something over. Um, so I also think that he was also trying to vie for more power because the fact that he didn't himself have the ability to open the gates, and that's something that he knew that he could not do, but Elle could um, control the gates in the first place.
Hence why he
And
kept sending the monsters after her.
yes, and and that's something like he wanted to, like the monsters in the first place. Their goal was to um their goal was to envelop like they did with the Mind Flayer, the Mind Flayer's victims, where they became one with the Mind Flayer itself. So Vecna hoped that he could envelop her powers in that manner. And that was the only person, and Whisper, that was the only person that could stop Elle too.
Yep.
So, and like he mentions that, like, oh, this is like with Billy, like, oh, this is all for you. And because the fact that like he needed her gifts in order to do the gates.
And this is one of those moments that, like, when I told you when we first started watching, like, how it all kind of reconnects to earlier seasons. Like, when you watch season 3 again, you'll have a whole new lens on what's happening.
And because he gets a piece of him inside of her as well, and that leads up to him able to open the gates because he has a piece of her now.
Yep.
So, Elle tries to persuade Vecna to stop, but he says, like, yeah, all your friends you lost, and it's pretty much everybody's on the losing end in the site. Like Lucas keeps getting beaten by Jason, Erica's locked out, Hopper's about to get killed by the Demodog, Eddie's pinned down by the bats, Nancy and Steve and Robin are being choked out, and yeah, so like yeah, Hawkins will burn, and I just thought so too is that like, and it never got brought up, because they never had contact. So I'm kind of curious what's going to happen in season 5. Is that Nancy never talked to Elle yet about the vision, because Vecna made a threat to Nancy, say, hey, tell Elle this is the future that's going to become Hawkins.
Oh yes, that's right.
And Elle has not seen that future yet, and we have the visions of this, because we do get the vision from season 2 where Will was in the background of that dragon like entity that we've kind of mentioned before. Maybe, I don't know, maybe we talk about in the background. We'll get that a little bit later. We'll take the next podcast. We'll talk about that a little more.
Yeah.
But we do have these connections that we're seeing, and like, oh, the dragon. Oh, we did mention, because the dragon-like thing in the vision that we see with Nancy, and this, it definitely could inform his decision making in season 5 of like, oh, this was a threat to you directly. How you gonna handle it? And then we get the point where we see Max starting to become killed, and we get her starting to float. Lucas is desperate to save her, and we see the blood coming out the eye sockets, first limb, second limb, third limb, and meanwhile, Mike's
brutal.
It was, oh yeah. Mike sees Elle on the table, sees like she's having issues and hyperventilating, and then Will gives the good old comment to Mike, like, "Oh,
acting at its worst, man."
Yeah, it's like, you're the heart of the party here. This either bad acting or both bad at acting and writing.
And it's like, did you really need to interrupt this whole moment to say, "Hey, you're the heart"? Like, no, shut the fuck up.
Awful. And I'm not blaming him for that. That's all just script, directing, editing, all that.
Yeah, that
wasn't
bad.
on him.
So Mike finally tells Elle that he loves her and always has loved her, and like kind of really picking her up in a way, and he's like, yeah, like, I screwed up. I should have talked to you more. I was scared, and that me being scared affected our relationship in that way, and worried that Elle was going to leave him because he thought that Elle wouldn't even need him anymore. And recalling him seeing her in the woods, and Elle kind of gets her shit back together, and this, I think, is a huge turn. I don't know if you guys agree with that or not.
In what sense?
So, one thing I picked up on, and I want to see if you agree with this or not. I think it's the first time Elle used her powers without using anger.
I can't confirm that, but it sounds right.
I'm trying to think. The
Because
force throw aspect of the powers, yes, but her telekinetic powers, I don't think so, because the
I
whole
think
spin the bottle stuff she did with Max in season 3, and like she's used her powers with Max in the mall and stuff like that.
yeah, but
But in terms
yeah,
of
it
like a
could be.
fight, like in terms of using her full force powers, this is
Yeah,
the
yeah,
first
I'm
time.
saying yeah, full. I'm saying more so full force in this. Yes, because the fact because the fact that like every time when she gets her nosebleeds and stuff, like she's usually have to tap in some dark thought that she had. And
And
even in
that's,
season 2, they mentioned like, oh, you need to tap into your anger in order to get that power to the next level. In this case, it's more of happy things when it comes to Mike and her friends that she taps into here, that she's able to kind of take control of the situation.
I think it's more the concept of the power of the emotion. I don't think it matters what emotion. It
But
just
yeah,
has to
no,
be a certain emotion.
I agree
Yeah.
with that. But I'm saying this is the first time we've seen positive emotion
Yep.
go that way. And in a way, like even thinking about this more when it comes to Dr. Brenner, like Brenner even mentions don't use your anger when you try and use your power.
Yeah.
So I think this is the lead up to what Brenner was looking to do with her, is to teach her how to use her power without driving on anger, but rather on good emotional thoughts. So
I think so
um
too. He probably learned that from one because one was always so power hungry and just mad at the world that he always went straight for that when he used his powers.
and he mentioned to her, use your anger,
Yeah.
and brings up her mother when he mentioned so. So I'm definitely interested in how they're going to foil each other as season 5 comes, and I obviously season 5 is going to be the last season as we know of,
It's
and
the perfect yin and yang situation with those
yes,
two.
and that's how I see things playing out with like the dark side and the no, it's like very much Star Wars esque.
See, Mitchell, he brought up Star Wars too. You gonna
Yeah,
That,
yell at
you did it first.
that was a give me though. Let's be real. Um,
Sure.
especially with this. So L breaks free and then puts him against a spike, one of the spires, I would say. And this causes Vecna to shake violently, and the and let's be real, a lot of things are happening at the same time here.
Yeah, it's a lot of all over the place all at once.
Yes. So Vecna gets held against the wall. I will say the event that happens next is Max is dropping to the floor. Um, and meanwhile, uh, the Demobats fall to the ground, and I will say at the same time, we get the electric shock as well when it comes to Joy saving Hopper. The
Yep.
vines slowly come down from Nancy and Steve. Lucas breaks free from uh, Jason and kind of turns around, beats the shit out. It kind of knocks him out in a way.
Yeah.
And then Lucas runs over to the body of Max, who is still 3 limbs mangled and eyes that are very cloudy. Um, so Nancy, Steve, and Robin go to the attic. They prepare their weapons and stuff for him. Um, Elle thinks saying, "Hey, we think we won," and Vecna's like, "Yeah, no, this is the game is still in the ball's still in my court here. This is just beginning the end. This is inevitable." And um, this is when we get the Molotov cocktail at Vecna's body, and Vecna leaves the mindscape and like kind of like poof.
This is when Kate Bush's Run Up That Hill starts playing
Yes.
the different cover of it, and my God, that was just an epic, just overlaying song for that whole scene.
Yes, it was very, very good. So Max then awakens after he leaves the mindscape. And they keep throwing Molotov cocktails at him, and Nancy just keeps pumping with shotgun shells. Very badass like cinematography for this, where she's just like, boom, 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 boom. Like, oh, let's go. Keep at it.
Nancy was not holding back, and I was all for it.
Yeah. And then, yeah, so the last shot round she sent, he falls out the window and kind of like is sprawled on the ground, burning still. They go outside, and Vecna's body is gone.
And this was definitely an homage to Halloween, the original one. Mitchell, I don't know if you finished the original Halloween yet.
I have 25 minutes left to go.
All right. Well, sorry, I'm going to spoil a little bit scene, but this
how do you hold on, pause? How?
What do you mean how?
How do you have 25 minutes left to go over a movie?
Because I had a pretty slow day of a job where I could kind of have something on, and then I waited for my fiance to get home from work to watch this episode of Stranger Things, so I pressed pause on that and watched this episode.
That is completely fair. I thought you just like stopped 25 minutes left. Like
no.
It was interrupted. That's a different story.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
this was the priority.
This scene was an homage to Halloween, but
and the thing too is like, as we always know, got to double tap.
Yeah.
But dude, she fucking triple tapped.
No, but he wasn't down yet. They know the demi-dogs already. That like
he fell out a fucking window. They had to have been what on like the second? They might have been on the third floor.
Third floor. Still.
So yeah, if she's got a shotgun at that range, it's not going to do anything from the third floor window down to the ground. You got to go down
off the head.
You got to go down to finish it off.
Like at least keep an eye on him. Like run to the window and like have like one of them just like come with the axe and just gunk.
Well, they didn't learn from Thor's mistake. That's all we know.
Yeah. Yeah. So singes are only remain on the floors, and then.
Another heart-wrenching scene with Dustin and Eddie.
Yep. Eddie is what Steve would have looked like if the other didn't save him. Eddie choking, claiming that he didn't run away this time. Like, kind of having confirmation from Dustin, like, hey, did I do a good job? And then tells Dustin that he's the one who needs to herd the sheep.
Yeah.
Or herd the flock.
That was the worst line for me, just in an emotional sense, not in quality. But the fact that like he's dying and he's still just concerned about his D&D party.
Not even his party, his friends. Like that's
what I mean. Like
he puts them in first.
About his family.
Yes.
In a sense, but like it just shows Eddie's true character.
And yeah, Eddie dies, and Dustin just fucking howls. That was a heart-wrenching scene. That was very well
I never
done.
want to see Dustin cry again because that was just heart-wrenching for me.
Now I'm curious how even though it's gonna be probably a quick turnaround time with this freaking what's going on, but like how does Dustin carry this burden?
Yeah, I think we're going to see a much different version of Dustin come season 5.
But we'll find out. So Erica finally gets to the attic lock. It's horrified to see Lucas holding a mutilated Max in his arms. Lucas yells, "Get an ambulance!" Well, Max is telling she can't see or feel anything, and her eyes are just like dripping into blood, and what they very cloudy eyes too. To me, like she looked blind. And Elle, who's also seeing this in the void, kind of sobs alongside them, even though they're not aware of like Elle's there the whole fucking time. And
this was just a cruel combination of scenes for the Duffer Brothers to throw at us. Like, You just have this epic action montage, and then you have Eddie's death and Max's death just back to back. You see Dustin just uncontrollable. You have Lucas just desperate to do something, but he can't do anything. He's just holding her.
Yeah.
And just the cries he does to Erica was definitely his best acting in the show.
And the thing too is like, you think too like, oh yeah, she broke some limbs, but like maybe she's saved. And the fact is like, yeah, like it's like, oh, I'm not ready to die yet. And yeah, I agree. The anguish is very good. And then we hear the chimes go off, and it rings 4 times.
Yeah.
And everybody realizes, oh shit, Max just died.
Yep.
That got
so,
me.
Yeah,
And
it
was the acting of Lucas that really got me with that one.
And Max too. Max, I thought the actress for Max was.
Well, Sadie Sink, I think, has been the best actress of this particular season. I think that she really stepped up after not liking all the things they did with that character in season 3. I thought that Max really came back in a strong way in this season, and Sadie Sink in particular was the standout.
So the house begins to shake, and Lucas pulls Max away as a large red crack forms in the middle of the attic, and getting into it, and it splits Jason in half. Did he scream?
Bravo.
I didn't realize he screamed in that. I thought he was just.
I didn't either. It just happened almost like you weren't even supposed to notice it.
Like very much like Thanos asking the center of his torso, just like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't expect to be right on that one. Like, again, I was talking to Tommy. I was like 2 for 2 on the character deaths on me, calling those out. I did not expect that at all. Like, I thought it'd be one of them, not both.
It's the only time I cheered for the Upside Down.
So this crack starts splitting the house, and then we realize that the other cracks that happened. So the Creel home, the one on the road, and the third one, which was the lake, and the lake kind of parts the lake, kind of like the Moses, and they all converge in the center of town. And then the Wheeler house, everybody's terrified. Holly's still playing. Holly is in her chair. And then they're all made in the center of Hawkins, and there's a giant shockwave that goes throughout the city. And they mentioned before it was a 7.4 magnitude earthquake, which is very strong. Like you can feel that across the whole nation.
Yeah.
And then we hear the clock chime through the air as it rings, and Mike kind of tearfully lets Elle know, like, hey, are you still there? Like, make sure she's okay. And then Elle sits silently next to Lucas cradling Max's body, and not want to let her go. Elle uses the ability to try to revive Max, and she pulls on good thoughts, like her interactions with Max, and because to her, Max is what's really the only female person in her life that she ever had a close bond with.
So this is my only gripe with this episode in terms of plot devices and stuff. When the hell did 11 get the powers to bring people back from the dead?
Wait, she's still not cold yet.
I think. Well, wasn't Max dead? Like officially,
Max was dead. Max was dead. Yes.
How did she revive Max as well?
When you're doing CPR, they're dead.
Yes, I've done CPR on a dead person. I know how that is. I'm just saying, like, from the upside, like the brainscape, like how did she revive her that way?
So, well, as we know, we don't know yet because she's still in a coma.
Yeah.
Like
it was just an odd scene. I was confused as like how, like, is this like a new power she has, like, or is it just something she's always been able to do we just didn't know?
Yeah. So that part I agree with. Like, oh, just winging it and see what happens. Like maybe, or just intuition. But like, yeah, I don't know. That is a good question of like, the power itself is the question to me. Like, oh, like what did she do? Did she actually restart her heart? But I wouldn't say that. Like, to me, especially since the sacrifice was never completed, like truly completed,
Yeah.
like that could be like I can definitely see Max becoming very much Will-esque. Because the fact that she was touched by his powers already, but she's not dead yet, or she came back from it, and by doing so, she has her own connection to the Upside Down that's different. Like honestly, before like I didn't think she was gonna die like on that spot when that chime hit, I was like, oh shit, she actually died. Like
Yeah.
that was the impactful thing for me,
Mm-hmm.
and because I thought she was gonna be like a for better or worse, like when it comes to wording, is like a cripple, like severely disabled, and kind of like the prophetic hermit of like very much like in like old Greek mythology is always someone who the prophet is some mangled man with cloudy eyes who's blind, and like I could see her kind of filling that role and still having interactions with Elle that way, which they could still do. Um, her dying was something I did not expect.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like maybe she just like use her power to like kind of like manually pump her heart by using her powers. Kind of like how there's things where I don't know if it's like movies or not, or it's actual true like no. If someone's cut open, they can actually manually use their heart to
A heart massage. Yeah.
yeah, actually physically pump their heart
Mm-hmm.
to get the blood flowing, and then hopefully not too much oxygen was lost to the brain. And then that's that for the whole battle.
Yeah.
Um,
Very, very action packed and then emotion filled end to the episode and fighting before we get the little epilogue
yes,
scenes.
the aftermath. California crew finally arrives in Hawkins, and then they find out that everybody's leaving Hawkins, which makes sense because after a giant ass satanic earthquake just happened.
I love how the news was still playing on the whole satanic panic and how
What's real? That's not surprising at all.
I'm sure. Yeah, I know it's realistic, but it was just funny how they're still claiming that was kind of the cause for the earthquake.
Well, there's no other answer right now,
Yeah,
and like they were
it made me chuckle when I was watching it.
like honestly, I think it's gonna be a very big plot line upcoming in the next season because of the fact that like the evidence is there in front of them. There's a giant ass crater going through Hawkins that's currently billowing out black smoke.
They're definitely going to play on the whole portal to hell concept.
Yes, very much so. And then they're right in the crosshairs.
Yeah.
And then you see all the people lining up to go into the church too.
Yeah.
So so 22 casualties currently from the disaster they know. And meteors again calling from hell. The Wheels Homes, Ted makes a comment about the media chalking it up. Karen's packing stuff up, while the little daughter, can't remember her name, to put the light bread again. It's right back on that thing.
Holly,
yes. So Nancy, Steven, Dustin, and Robin are loading up Steve's cardboard donations that's being held at the Red Cross at Hawkins High, and then someone mentions like, "Oh, is someone order pizza?" And then here they are. They show up. Everybody embraces. Karen had a nice little comment to Michael, like, "Oh, you ever leave my side again? You're not going to college. You're staying next to me. Never going on vacation." Awkwardness between Jonathan and Nancy. And tells listener like, "Yeah, we know more than you think. Like we were in the thick of this too. You have no idea." And apologized not reaching out because he couldn't risk contact, which again they had no clue what was going on. Yeah, and Steve still solidly comforted by Robin as they embrace. Dustin embraced Will and Elle. and I'm going to ask where Lucas is, and then Dustin realizes they're not fed in on the rest of this. Well, Ella knows what she did, but didn't know what happened after the fact.
Yeah.
And then they get to the hospital. Max is comatose with Lucas reading a book to her. You know what book that was, by the way?
I don't remember. It was a science fiction book, I think.
Yeah, it would look like more like a fantasy novel.
Good night, Moon. I don't know.
Yeah, I was asking that as our Mitchell. So Lucas is reading to her. The party arrives. Lucas embraces all of the gang. They're not sure if Max will wake at all. It is a miracle that she's even alive. So her heart stopped for over a minute, and she died clinically. Did she?
I got a quick note on the book, real quick.
Yes.
So he's reading the Talisman to Max.
Never heard of that one.
The Talisman is actually a Stephen King novel about a 12-year-old boy who sets out to find a talisman to save his dying mother. The story takes place in a parallel universe called the Territories, where people have twinners and some can flip between universes.
Oh my god.
So leave it to the Duffer Brothers to just kind of throw in a random little nod to Stephen King that nobody probably had a damn clue unless they've read that book.
But your quick synopsis of that and the realities of what the situation is currently going on is
foreshadowing.
Nose.
Yeah.
So Elle sits in the bed, holding her hand, reassures she will be with her, and she goes into his mind, and pretty much completely empty at the moment, this void of nothingness. And Elle is screaming for Max to hopefully find some sort of response. And then at the high school, Steve, Robin, and Dustin arrive with their donations. And they see everybody who's displaced from the events of the earthquakes, and there's a whole board of all the people who are currently missing. They volunteer their help. Steve is sent to comb through donations. Robin is sent to make sandwiches, and then Vicky comes out in the kitchen, is caught off guard, and they have their own little ADHD, flare up with each other.
Yeah.
And they're both ranting to each other.
The two peas in a pod moment.
Yeah, it's very much. And Vicky also mentions that her boyfriend broke up with her.
The answer as to why they watch Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Because that's what Steve has been theorizing the entire season as to why she would watch that movie. And now we finally know why.
Yep. And Steve sees what's happening. He's like, all right, cool. Like, good for her. This might be something. And those two. Well, I'm hoping to see Vicky more in the next season.
He's got the proud mom look on his face.
Yes,
he's officially the mother of the group.
So, I hope to see Vicky more in the next season. That'd be nice. And then we see this heartfelt scene between Dustin and Mr. Munson, Wayne, who's taking down a missing poster for Eddie that had the satanic symbol on it, and then replacing it with a fresh one. And then Dustin approaches him and is like, "Hey," of course, Mr. Munson is very cold, and Eddie's being not Eddie. Dustin's trying to be very respectful, and believing him to be like everyone else. And Dustin was like, "Hey, I was there with him when it happened," and like kind of sit down with him. It shows him the little guitar pick that the necklace he had.
Yep.
And he just kind of really laying on him and like lets him know like, hey, like he was still Eddie when he passed, and he wished that everybody can see who he really was because he was such a great person and fought so hard to protect the town that hated him, and he hailed him as a hero. And
that might have been my favorite moment of the whole season, if I'm being honest. I thought that was extremely well done.
Yes, and like great by both actors. Like they were, I think they nailed that one out of the park. It was a very raw, emotional scene, and something that everybody could connect to, where it's like, no, everybody has seen someone in their lives where it's like, kind of that missing void that trying to hold and like waiting for answers. And I thought that was a very nice of Dustin to actually suck it up and actually talk to him about it.
Yep.
And then we get the last set here where knowing needing to hide Elle since she's still after by the military, as we assume.
Yep.
So they go to Hopper's place, which is still ravaged by the battles with the Mind Flare. And we get this awkward scene of Jonathan and Nancy board at the windows, and they see Argyle and like him
fucking Argyle taking mushrooms.
It's so fucking funny. They just like, what the hell's wrong with him? It's like, I know, that's just how he is. And then John kind of approaches him. He's like, "Is everything all right between us?" And like they're both like skirt around the bushes here.
I think they're ready to break up. No one wants to initiate it.
Yep. So Nancy asks if he got a college accepted letter. Yeah, it's a pretty like they know it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen eventually. Then we get Mike and Will discussing Elle's struggle to fight in Vecna and like the battle itself. Mike hoping that Vecna is dead, and Will's like, nah, like, and plot wise, I completely understand why they sent Will off to California on this trip, because him being here in the first place is
he would have sent that shit right away.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, I've ever been over here. Like, I can still feel this idiot, and I'm like, it's like, oh, well, now Will's sensor, Spidey sensor is still going off, and Elle is into her room and she's cleaning things up, and she sees the Coke bottle and that she spins it and like remembering her time with Max. And also in the room, like I caught immediately when Elle almost closed it, had stopped at 3 inches, like it's still a habit, baby. Let's go. I know. I wish I didn't mention it directly, but I was like, oh, I wish like I caught that. I was like, I feel good, and then it's like, oh. But yeah, Hopper comes up, embraces her, and yeah, they make fun of each other, like, oh, you're supporting my hairstyle, as in with Elle, her hair getting shaved. Hopper, who is smaller, and she makes a comment about that. Also, Hopper kind of bullshitting with Mike as well. It's like, oh,
you've grown.
Yeah, you've grown. He's like, oh, Mike's like, you shrunk, which is great. And then Will gets this Spidey sense tingling, and then we start seeing. So you think that's spores?
That's when I was looking into it on the Stranger Things site. That's how they described it, so I kind of just kept it.
I do not like that. I
think it is spores because it's an extension of like what you saw in the Upside Down. Like, remember in the tunnels in season 2?
Oh yeah. They're always there.
It was all the particles were kind of just floating through the air, and it was expelled from the vines and stuff.
Yep.
What's a good catch?
Yeah, that's a really good catch, because it also reminds me, like, when we get to them walking to the field. Like, it's all going over Hawkins, and they get to the field, and like we have the rotting vegetation, but like this is all the vegetation. Yeah. I can definitely see it being the spores that were like in the underground, but now that's always like ash like.
It definitely is ash.
But that makes them being spores make much more sense to me. And yeah, that's where we leave off, is this kind of scene where we have Elle in front, and then we have
the full crew.
I won't say the full crew, but it was because we had Jonathan standing next to Nancy, Will and Mike next to each other, and then we had the Joyce and Hopper next to each other, and that was like the last scene we got.
Yep.
And
with massive upside down storm out in the distance.
Yep. And like the smoke billowing out of the hell pit.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was a long one, gentlemen.
Yes, it was.
Thanks for if you got this far listening to this.
Thank you for listening this long.
Yeah.
$5 Amazon gift card will be in the mail soon.
So, let's go with scores.
Yeah. So, me and Mitchell are going to be very divided on this one, but this was my favorite episode of the entire season, possibly the show. I'm going to give it a 9.8. The only reason I'm not giving it a full 100 was just because of the terrible acting done by Will. Take Will out of the show, it would have been a fucking 100.
I'm looking at my other ones. Give me 1 second. Because I definitely want to have a. Because it was a fantastic finale. I really did enjoy it. Yeah, I'll go 9.6 on this as well. I thought it was just as good as the end of season, the end of episode 7. I thought it was fantastic. Also, but I do think the finale of season 3 was better.
Okay.
I think season 3 finale was just like that, just fired all cylinders, and it was such a great episode overall. Well, this one there was a lot of it was just so fucking long. It was a movie. Long. It literally was a movie. Great, but like there was so much stuff, like so much loose ends tied up. As I mentioned, like the Russia plot, it looks like it's tied up.
Yeah.
Of course, there is definitely some loose ends, but like there's some.
They did do a good job of tying everything up, but they kind of do the Infinity War ending where the bad guy still wins. Granted, there weren't as many deaths as Infinity War, but it's basically like, hey, big war is about to happen.
Yeah, and we're getting to literally the end game, as you kind of mentioned.
Like at this point, I don't think season 5 is going to have any fillers. It's going to be just straight into the meat and potatoes of it.
Yeah, well, I think the military will play a much bigger part. I do think the colonel will be back up.
Hey,
what?
Save it for the next podcast.
Good point.
All right,
good point.
Save it.
Yes, we'll save it.
Save
next
it.
Podcast,
we've been on for an hour 58. I've got my grade, and then let's save some. Come on, man.
That's very true.
Thank you, Moral Compass.
Next podcast will be we'll talk about the trailer just got released today. So great timing on our part. Look at us.
Yeah.
Look at us. And then we will go over that and then our own predictions in the future. Okay, Mitchell, prediction for you. I'm saying you have I gotta say 9.62.
I'm gonna go 8.87.
Not that low.
Okay, so here's the thing. I told Tommy before we got started.
I did have some insider knowledge
that I did not like this episode. But the really funny thing is, I completely lied to you just because I thought it would be funny.
You fucker!
What a bitch. No, I'm gonna go with a 9.54 on this one.
I hope the Jets lose next week.
Which we gotta hope for that. That's just gonna happen. I hope for something with a better that doesn't need your hope.
That was the quickest thing I could think of to hurt you.
Yeah. No. 954 favorite episode so far, and I think a lot of it is because I am a movie guy more than a TV guy, and I just remember the first time watching it and today. I watched it with my fiance both times, and we both just had this agreement that if they were like, yeah, come watch it in theaters for $12 or something.
Oh, imagine if they did
then we would have been all there for it. And it would have been so much fun. And you'd be getting your money's worth with the price, or not with the length of the episode.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something that they should have done, but Netflix hates you and movie theaters. So that's not going to happen.
All right, then. With that, we will get into predictions in a much larger scale overview of all of it next episode. So, because we've been on this for a while, and we're going to
2
wrap this
hours.
up.
Oh,
Yeah.
imagine if they did that.
Cutting wise, at the post production, where it'd be a little bit shorter, but still, it's a lengthy one, and we appreciate you all listening. If you have listened to all the way through, and our rambles, appreciate that. For Stranger Nerds, I'm Connor, Tommy, and Mitchell. Thank you so much, and we're excited for season 5 because I am now finally caught up. I know what's going on.
That's gotta feel good.
It does feel good, actually. Especially at that's such a long episode. I'm like, again, I was halfway through. I'm like, oh, that's an hour. Oh, I still have another hour to go.
Yeah.
How much more shit they going to throw at me here?
Yeah.
Which again, it was definitely deserved. So, and there was no real easy part to separate that.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, for that, thank you so much. Follow us on our socials and have a good one.